Alrighty, folks. Thank you guys for tuning in to the Pieczynski and Kerns Sports Show, the 6th of November, a Friday afternoon. Let's get started right away with World Series recap. The Mets fall short. They lose 7-2 in Game 5. The Royals win 4-1. They reach their second straight World Series. They pull out with the victory in this one.
Yeah, this series was closer than most 5-game series. Many of these games decided in the late innings, especially Game 5, with the Royals coming back in the ninth against Familia. There was an error too, I believe, correct? In that ninth?
Yeah, Daniel Murphy had a couple errors in the World Series. He definitely wasn't the same Daniel Murphy we saw in the NLCS.
Yeah, this was a Mets team that was coming in with on fire pretty much, a full head of steam coming in, and then they just didn't show up for the World Series. As far as offensively pitching, their pitching was not bad. Their bullpen didn't show up though.
No, their bullpen is what lost them the series, and Familia specifically. But also, I mean, you can't put it all on him. But Cologne struggled. Clippard struggled. They all struggled. They had a lead, I believe, in at least 3 of the 5 games, if not 4. They would get out to early leads, but the Royals doing what they've been doing all year, coming back from games. We've seen that multiple times on different occasions at different stages too. So this is a team that really, I mean, from the 6th inning on, I believe I forgot the exact number of runs, but it was incredible the margin of victory they were able to overcome.
Yeah, when you look at it, this Royals team was very resilient. Especially Game 1, bottom of the ninth, and then Alex Gordon, they're down 4-3, sends the game into extra innings. Turns out to be, I believe it was either the 3rd or 2nd longest game in World Series history.
Yeah, and that's what definitely set the tone for this World Series. It turned the tide, I think, towards the Royals. If the Mets win that game, you have DeGrom Game 2, so there's a lot that could have happened. There's a lot of what-ifs we could sit here and talk about, but no, the Royals pull out with the World Series, and props to them for doing so. I mean, Kansas City had a huge parade I saw. I believe all the local schools shut down, so good for Kansas City. I mean, they hadn't won a World Series since 1985, I believe, so, it was interesting to see.
Yeah, and this is a team that had been there before. They didn't win it last year, and I think that played a lot into their success in this series, being there before, the experience. You tell the Mets really they weren't as sure of themselves as a team. A lot of fielding errors, something that hadn't been seen through the whole entire playoffs. The Cubs series, they were pretty much flawless fielding, and then they got to the World Series, especially Daniel Murphy making a lot of mistakes.
Well, yeah, as Ned Yost said last year, they weren't expected to be in that series at all. I mean, against the Giants, and they took the Giants all the way down to the wire in Game 7. The Giants had to rely heavy on Madison Bumgarner. The Mets didn't have a guy that could do that. But this year, the Royals were expected to be there. They were expected to be that team to beat them, and the Cardinals were neck and neck each week in the power rankings. They would always be 1 and 2. The Cardinals fall out early, but the Royals persevere, and they win this World Series.
Yeah, and who would you say is the MVP for both teams in this series?
Well, I still think you got to give it to, for the Mets, either Daniel Murphy or probably Curtis Granderson. I think Granderson he played better in the World Series than Murphy did. But I mean, had the Mets won it, everyone would be saying Daniel Murphy. For the Royals, I mean, there's multiple players you could look at. But how about relief pitcher Luke Hochevar, I believe is how you pronounce his name. He was flawless in this postseason. Really flawless all year. Actually, I think he didn't allow a single run throughout the entire postseason, so he did a good job. But I mean, there's a bunch of other guys you can look at too.
Yeah.
How about yourself?
Whichever was good, but if I was going for Royals, I know Salvador Perez turned out to be the MVP. I mean, he was great behind the plate, but hitting-wise, he didn't do as much as someone like Eric Hosmer. Eric Hosmer was an RBI machine over the course of this series. He had some clutch hits. How many RBIs do you think he ended up with?
I know he was in the double digits. I'm not sure exactly what it was.
Yeah, he was a big run producer this postseason. He had some clutch moments. They only won bad moment he had in the series was making that error in Game 1, allowing the Mets to take the lead. But after that, I believe he scored the winning run of that game, too. He had a few hits. I think he had 2 hits Game 1. He was just consistent the whole series. And then if I were looking on the Mets, I'd go Granderson. Granderson was by far their best offensive producer in this series.
Yeah, I mean, him and Murphy really were the two dominant hitters in this lineup. Cespedes was banged up. I really think with a healthy Cespedes, there would have been more run production, and the Mets would have fared off better in this series. It's certainly David Wright also not having the best postseason by any means. Really, the Mets in general. I mean, the bats they got some contact early on, especially in games 1 and 2, but then towards the end of the series, it just kind of all went away.
Yeah, so overall, it was a decent World Series. I'd say last year's was better. What would you say for that?
Well, yeah, I went to 7 games. One more thing to add on Salvador Perez, though. Yeah, you mentioned how the numbers weren't there hitting-wise, but, I mean, he was really banged up. You look back and see some of the shots that he took on his body. I mean, just foul balls off the head. Even, I believe, he was hit by Josh Donaldson on a play where Donaldson took too wide of a swing and it hit him on the back of the forehead. So he was really banged up all postseason long. But, it's a grind. When you play 162 and then the postseason, it's a grind all year. So give credit to the Royals as they pull through and win the World Series.
Yeah, good job by the Royals. Nice to see a new team win it all. But we're going to move on to football now. So let's do some recap of Week 8. So starting off with the Thursday night game, the Patriots and Dolphins. What do you have to add on that?
Well, the Dolphins were coming off 2 straight victories. They played the Texans and the Titans. They demolished both of those teams, but it was kind of a fluke. They went into New England and got their butts handed to them. It really wasn't the same Dolphins team. They struggled to get any consistency on the ground. And the last 2 weeks prior to that game, that's what they had been really reliant on, was running the football, and they were unable to do so against New England.
Yeah, and when you look at New England's performance in that game, their defense is really what won them this game. The Dolphins' defense wasn't playing bad the first half. Their offense just wasn't moving the ball. They weren't keeping the ball, keeping the possession. So New England was winning time possession, but I give credit to the Patriots' defense. Definitely one of the more underrated defenses in the league, and they pull off the win, 36-7. So moving on to the next game, we have Lions and Chiefs. This one was a blowout. Anything to add on this one?
Not much to talk about. Give credit to the Chiefs for getting the job done in high fashion without Jamal Charles, but they're still at the end of the division when it comes to the AFC West. In the end of the day, I think that it's just a really bad Lions team, and I don't think it's that good of a Chiefs team either.
Yeah, and I mean, both teams struggling. The Chiefs obviously without Jamal Charles, but give credit to Alex Smith, another decent performance from him. He's been pretty consistent this year as far as not turning the ball over and making some plays.
Well, yeah, that's what we've seen. I mean, that's what Alex Smith is going to be as a quarterback in the NFL, game manager. He ran the ball quite well. I think he had 70-plus yards running the ball.
He had one big 40-yard run, too.
Yeah, which was a big chunk. So getting as much production as you can from Alex Smith is what this Chiefs team needs. I mean, whether it's throwing or running. So a good win for the Chiefs.
Yep, moving on to our next game, we have the Chargers and Ravens, and the Ravens pulled a game off for once, 29-26. What do you have for us on this game?
Well, the Chargers continue to find ways to lose. I mean, the season's not quite over yet for both teams, although it kind of is. I don't think either one of the teams will make a wild card push. I mean, if it would have to be for the second one. The way the Chargers have been playing, I mean, Phillip Rivers has played good football, but, I mean, he loses Keenan Allen to a season-ending injury. There's still weapons there. They're definitely going to need to look to run the football a little bit more and help Rivers out. And defensively, that team's a mess. Apart from pass rushers Melvin Ingram and Jerry Atachu, that's all they got. I mean, they have Eric Weddle in the secondary, but he's been hurt. I believe he did suit up for this game.
Yeah, after the Packers game, their secondary got beat up. When
Yeah.
they lost Weddle, their secondary hasn't been the same without him.
Exactly, and then you look at the two corners, Verrett and Flowers. It kind of starts with that Packers game. I'm not sure if they lost confidence, but then they got whooped by my Oakland Raiders the next week, and then this game they were in it, but unable to pull it off. I believe they play on Monday Night Football next week, or this week rather.
Yeah. So that does it for that game. Moving on, we have the Cardinals and Browns. Cardinals pulling off a 34-20 victory. They came back in this one. They were down 20-10?
20-10. Yeah, at halftime.
Another good Cardinals performance. Anything to add on this? Anything we haven't seen from the Cardinals yet?
I think it's just Palmer continuing to play well, and the Browns, like similar to the Chargers, finding ways to lose games. I think the Browns, there's a lot to question over there. They have a lot of, as far as personnel choices go, there's a lot of decisions that they're going to need to make in this offseason. Starting at quarterback, whether it's McCown, Manziel, or someone else.
I think Manziel is a good option for them. When you look, he's got to start for this week. I think this is a Browns team. They've got some good pieces in, like defensively and offensively. They're a team that could be a very relevant team soon. They just need to put it all together.
Yeah, there's definitely some potential there. You look in the secondary, Joe Hayden, but he's been banged up this year. Tramon Williams, a former Packer, he's played inconsistent. Up front, when you have guys like Paul Kruger, the rookie defensive tackle Danny Shelton, who's struggled and who's been a big part of their lack of stopping the run, they've got to be able to figure that out. I think a 3-4 also contributes to that. They need to switch to a more conventional 4-3. That would definitely help them stop the run more.
Yeah, definitely. We got to move on to our next game. We have the Vikings pulling off a narrow victory against the Bears, 23-20. Any things to take away from this one?
But yeah, Bridgewater struggled early, then kind of got in the groove. Stephon Diggs really helped him out. I believe he had a long catch and run. He's come onto the scene and exploded, replacing receiver Charles Johnson a few weeks ago due to injury. Now they get all three of them healthy. Stephon Diggs, Charles Johnson, and then the other receiver. I can't think of his name right now. But Bridgewater coming on the scene late and playing well.
Yeah, seeing the same thing there. Bridgewater just needs to be more consistent to start games. We've seen that past couple weeks. Not really staying consistent, but managing to pull off victories. And give credit to the Bears. This is a team that's been put down a lot by media, but they're a team that they look like they have some solid components to them. They have Matt Forte on an injury, though, right now. Their defense, not playing bad, not playing good, mediocre, but give Jay Cutler credit. He's been playing pretty well these past few weeks.
Yeah, I think when you look at their defense, it starts with that acquisition of Pernell McPhee, defensive end. He's been a great key for them. Give credit to the general manager of the Chicago Bears for bringing him in. They're going to look for guys that are going to fit a scheme under John Fox. So moving on into the offseason, they're going to have to add guys and more talent surrounding Jay Cutler.
Yeah, definitely. We're going to move on to our next game now. The Cincinnati Bengals defeating the Steelers 16-10. Ben Roethlisberger clearly struggling in this one. 3 interceptions. Any concern there for the Steelers or for the Bengals?
Yeah, he did look a little hesitant in the pocket. He definitely wasn't 100%. Saying that, I don't even think he might have been 85-90%. He was wobbling around back there, and Big Ben uses that size to his advantage, but it was a lot easier for defenders to bring him down in this game just because he's so wobbly and inconsistent in that pocket. They take on the Raiders this week. It's going to be a good game for. It's going to be a key game for both teams. It'll have wild card implications. Losing Le'Veon Bell is huge, though. This offense relies on him, but they do have D'Angelo Williams, who's done a good job filling in for him. I don't think that they're going to miss him too much just because of Williams.
Yeah, definitely. Pittsburgh's definitely got to be concerned with the Raiders next week.